I'd like to welcome you to the Beaufort County Transportation Committee's November meeting. We'll start by having roll call.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Glover?
He's excused.
Mr. Forrest?
Here.
Mr. McCain?
He's excused.
Mr. Stroman?
Here.
Mr. Backer?
Here.
Mr. Winslow?
Here.
Ms. Graves Sellers?
My understanding, her and Ms. Kozak are both going to be calling in. Okay. It's customary for us to go around and have introductions made. Stu, we'll start with you.
Stu Rodman, County Council, recently assigned as the liaison to your committee. I'm actually quite nervous because I figure I'm still on probation and I don't want to mess up and maybe get somebody else.
Brady Fields, Capital Projects Coordinator for Beaufort County.
Andrea Atherton, Engineering Director of Transportation.
Brian Bauer, afternoon.
Rob McPhee, Stepping Engineering.
Greg Moore, resident construction engineer, Scdot.
I'm Carrie Gorsuch. I'm with the City of Beaufort.
Carol Puryear, Executive Assistant to Jared Fralix.
Brooke Plank-Bucola with the Town of Fort Royal.
Elizabeth Sanders, RV, SDOT.
Thank you. If everybody would please rise, we'll have a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As is customary, we'll open our meeting with a public comment. Is there anybody here that would like to make public comment? Seeing none. The next item on the agenda is approval of our September 15th meeting minutes. Please note that we're making an effort to try to get the meeting minutes to you within 1 month after the meeting. That way, everything's still fresh in your mind and what went on rather than waiting 2 months. So that's what we tried to do this time around. Is there any objections or corrections to it? Not hearing any. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We'll start off with old business. Greg Moore, Scdot fiscal year 2020 and 2021 update.
Sorry, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. So again, this is just a list of the active projects, and then I'll hit on some of the upcoming for Beaufort County. Next slide. The newest project to be added down in District 8 for y'all is the US 278 project for safety improvements on multiple intersections. These intersections cross over Buckwater Parkway, Eagle Point Drive, Delfair Oaks Boulevard, Buck Island Drive, SC 46 Bluffton Road, the Target driveway access, Home Depot driveway access, Malfrist Road, Hilton Head National Drive, Tanger Outlet driveway, and then also Moss Creek Village, Salt Marsh Drive. This was awarded to Edisto Contracting out of Orangeburg, South Carolina. They have started utility locates down in those intersections, and also we conducted our pre-con meeting this week. This project contains everything, a variety of items, anywhere from simply pavement markings to new concrete medians. There is a mast arm being installed in an intersection, so it's just a variety of traffic safety improvements.
Okay.
I do not have a mobilization date for that project yet.
Other questions?
Next slide. This project is out in front of the Walmart out to Malfrist Drive here in Beaufort. Again, intersection safety improvements. This project has been fully accepted with the exception of needing to do the crosswalk at the Walmart and Sonic Drive access. I'm still working on that change order with the contractor, but that is still yet to come. You've probably recently noticed that the delineators for that left turn lane for future development did get installed, and so that piece has been completed.
See no questions, go ahead.
Next slide. This project has been fairly clean in Beaufort County. It's simply road rehabilitation. A lot of us did not see the CMRB that ended up in some of the roads in Jasper County, but it's mostly complete right now. It is complete 100% in Beaufort County. We're still working down in Jasper County, down on 315, south of 46, which we did do work on in Beaufort County.
Questions?
So this project will most likely be off the update for next meeting. Next slide. This is probably the one I get the most questions on, which is Island Parkway going out through Hunting Island and out to Frit Bridge. We did finally receive commission approval to use South Carolina Parks and Rec funding for the Hunting Island State Park. We have changed some of the logistics since my last update. What we're proceeding to schedule out now, we're shifting logistics with the contractor. I actually spoke with him this afternoon to get an update. And what we're proposing to do is come in, we're going to do the section from Hunting Island State Park entrance out to the Frit Bridge, come back, go inside the park, do the rehabilitation inside the park, rebuild those roads, and then come back out and do from the entrance back towards Harbor Island, thus eliminating the potential to damage the new surface road from the park entrance backwards. So hopefully this will alleviate some of the public comments we are getting from residents right now, so.
Those roads are in pretty bad shape.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've got comments coming from both residents and from first responders, so.
What's this work consist of?
On the Island Parkway or inside the park?
Both.
On Island Parkway, it's got some full depth patching, it's got some leveling to it. We also did adjust the travel lane widths to accommodate I'm gonna call it a pseudo bike lane on the outsides of the travel lanes. It's not the normal full width. We didn't have that we couldn't accommodate a full width, but we did adjust a foot on either side of the lane. So there could be some area there. We're gonna probably end up doing more leveling to the roadway than full depth patching. Inside the park, it's a lot of eliminating root barriers, coming across the road, breaking up the road. There's full depth patching identified. There's leveling. There's raising the roadway where it's been washing out in past storms.
So it's pretty much extensive rebuilding all the park roads.
Yes, sir.
Everything that's stone right now.
It's
Broke
an
up.
extensive rehab. But yeah, no, the park is very gracious. If you have questions come to you, most likely what's going to happen is we're going to end up shutting down because of the one way in, one way out scenario. The roads in there, it'll probably end up, we'll take out the south section of the park, do that work, and then switch over to the north section. We also have work over in the RV camper area as well. And so it's going to be a sectioned off project.
Has the park figured out the drainage that's causing a lot of that trouble?
We do have drainage improvements as well on that project.
So it's gonna try to drain all that standing water?
We're going to try and alleviate a lot of it, yes, sir.
Okay.
Just real quick on that segment of roadway, I didn't believe it included the last half mile. Is that correct?
It does not go all the way up to the bridge, no.
Right,
But there is
the
an
final
extension.
half mile is still to be done the next year.
Okay, I don't have anything on contract yet for that, so.
Right, it does not go to the bridge.
Okay.
It goes a half mile short, and then the next year it should finish.
But we are doing some work with Fripp Island right now to adjust the transition onto the Fripp Island Bridge so it's not as jarring as it currently is. And then Fripp Island is also going through our contractor to restripe their bridge as well.
Good.
Next slide. These have a little bit more separation, a little bit more information on the slides. Getting into the 6990 multiple roads. 3 of the sections of this project are contained within Beaufort County. You've got the first one, which is, you've got one section down in Hilton Head, Palmetto Bay Road, William Hilton Parkway. You've got another section that has Castle Hall, Boundary, Laurel Bay, and Frampton. And You've got another section that has Johnny Morrell Circle, Wilson Road, Drayton Drive, and Kalawasi Drive. The one section that has down in Hilton Head's complete. The section for Laurel Bay is complete. However, Castle Hall, Frampton, and Boundary is still pending. I don't have a definite schedule for that, but I do know that the work at Drayton Drive over in Port Royal will be in the spring of 2022. That is part of the CMRB reclamation process. They have been out doing some core samples in those roads, so you will see a little bit of activity here and there from consultants and contractors, but the main reclamation will be in the spring. The next section for 565, 80, 90, we actually just did the acceptance walk on that job today to create a punch list for Stewart Point and Burnt Church. The roads were good overall. There's a few punch list items, but overall that project's complete, so. Next slide. Upcoming projects, US 278 resurfacing, that is, it's some lift, it's some reclamation work. That one is currently scheduled for March letting. US 278 toll road conversion that everyone's still waiting on is currently in design. It has not been awarded to a shortlist contractor yet. And then 278 corridor improvements is still under public comment and review by headquarters. So,
What's the toll road conversion consist of?
it's essentially getting rid of the toll roads. There's re-signing, remarking.
Take out toll booths?
Doesn't that include, funding was taken in, when they were taking tolls, funding was withheld to pave all across Island. Is all across Island going to get paved as well?
I don't know the exact scope of that project. I don't know when it's still in the forecast for when it's going to start. That project's actually being handled by our design build resident up in Charleston, the same resident who handled the Harbor River Bridge project down here.
Right.
So she'll be back for that one as well. But the exact scope on that one, I couldn't tell you.
Have they noticed more people using it now that it's free?
I know that the town of Hilton Head was doing a volume capacity. They were monitoring all of it for sections. The initial comment that I got from the traffic engineer down in Hilton Head was that he thinks there's more volume to it, just based on his personal driving. Last time I spoke to him, I hadn't heard the actual numbers from the study.
Do you have that at numbers?
Yeah, my understanding is that a couple of studies have shown about a 16% increase on what was the old toll road.
Interesting.
Probably coming off of Gumtree and off of Span as well, so yes.
Yeah, you'd have thought it'd been more than that.
Yeah, you would have. That's been a great report. Anybody have any additional questions?
But yeah, overall, there's more work coming down to this area, so I think you'll see more work coming in the next few years, so.
Good. Thanks for the update. Appreciate it, Craig.
Thank you.
Item B, dirt road paving contract. Andrea?
Thank you, Chairman. Not much has changed from last meeting. The contract number 51, which included Rice, Salicornia, Ward's Landing, and George Williams, is now complete. We are now working on contract number 52, which is Harrison Island, Wright Place, Wycliffe, and David Green. All of those are in permitting as we speak, waiting for the permits to come back. Right now, the tentative schedule is to break ground on Harrison Island, begin work end of January, beginning of February. All of the roads are supposed to be paved by the fall of next year. Contract number 53, which is year 3 of the paving program. Right now, included in that will be Twickenham, Northview, and then we, based on the budget that we have for year 3, we're going to include some of the year 5 roads as alternates.
Fusky?
No, Defusky that's all rocking that we're going to do
Right.
there, and that is year 4, so that'll bid out. But we're going to include some of the year 5 roads to see how the numbers come in, and if they're within budget, then we'll put them on the list also.
Questions? Thank you. Next item is pavement condition survey update. And thank you,
Mr.
Brian.
Chairman. Since our last update, we are still on track to hand over the final deliverable per the contract time in January. We have completed our QC and met and determined treatment types and variables to be used, so we are well on our way to coming up with our treatment plan for you. And in addition to that, I have the municipal roadways and their PQIs here to hand over to you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It is, I hope noted by the various municipalities that what we're about to provide you is something that you've never done. Actually, the municipalities have never had the roads reviewed, and we've done it for you this time, and it has saved you somewhere between $25,000 to $50,000 to have it done. It also gives you documentation to the fact that anybody calling in on your roads now, you can look at the documentation we're giving you, and you can give them the condition of the road that it's in and why that it isn't being resurfaced or needs to be surfaced. And furthermore, the other item is that it gives you a way to establish a pavement management system similar to what we're doing with our with the county roads throughout. So this is something we're giving the municipalities in an effort to help you all get a pavement management system started. Beaufort's here. Come on up and get it. There's a thumb drive in there for you.
All right, thank you.
And I see Kim Jones wasn't able to attend. She's listening.
I'm listening. You all do not want me there today, but I appreciate it, and I'll arrange to get that information from you all. Thank you.
I will bring it back with me, and I'll arrange a time to swap it with you. And we have Port Royal and Hilton Head. There's Port Royal, and I think you'll be very pleased with the results.
Thank you.
Surely. All right, everyone, any questions? They're moving along. They'll be done by the first week of January on our road system and have our next 5-year road paving program put together. SC 170 update.
Jared is on his way from another meeting, so if we can defer that to the end of the agenda when he arrives.
Absolutely we can. Andrea, solicitation for state secondary, less than 580T. As a background, last month we approved the fact that we realized that we have over 200 miles of state secondaries with ADTs of less than 500. So this coming year, we are making plans to do ADTs that are greater than that. Next year we'll do, once we get this program back, we'll do less than 500 ADT. And then in the future, we'll be blending it, doing less than 500 ADT and state secondaries that you all pick from your districts.
Correct, exactly. So what is out for bids right now is RFP that is due on December 21st and is the pavement maintenance and preservation evaluation that Craig just spoke to. And again, we will have, we will take solicitations from engineers and consultants and evaluate them with a team of evaluators and pick somebody and bring it to probably the, is there a January? I think there's a January CTC meeting. So we will bring it to the January CTC meeting for a recommendation for award. So that takes care of that one. I've got items E, F, and G, so my slide kind of covers all of that.
Just go, move right on.
All right, so year 4 resurfacing is now complete. We did just over 12 and a half miles of roads for just over $2 million. We did the asphalt rejuvenator, 223,000 square yards for just over $200,000. We are close to putting out year 5 resurfacing. It should go out before Thanksgiving, and we are tentatively now going to get bids in on January 13th. It will include 7.5 miles of various types of treatment, resurfacing treatments, whether overlay, mill and overlay, and microsurfacing is also included in that 7.5 miles. Those are all county roads. About 40,000 square yards of asphalt rejuvenator. Again, those are county roads. And then just over 5 miles of resurfacing on state secondary roads. And you all were involved in picking the roads. So I just have an excerpt from the RFP that is going out, and these are the state secondary roads that were on the list. Originally, you might remember that Colony Gardens was on it. We have taken that off and added on Marsh Hawk. You're going to see that as a overlay. So this will be in the bid pack that's going out for year 5. We will get separate prices for the state secondary, so we'll be able to track what is being spent on the state and what is being spent on the county.
Just an interesting fact, since this is your first meeting attending, I think we've covered now by the time year 5 is done, we will have touched something close to 65 miles of state or county highways.
Right.
County highways. That's a significant effort and
I think to what Brian spoke to and what FNME and SEPI are working on, I think when the report comes in January, you're going to be extremely pleased in the results in how an improvement to the overall system of county roads, how it has gone up. I think it'll be very good news.
okay.
Any questions?
Status of state secondary. You gave? I think that pretty well covers it. Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie, I see you're on. Give us a brief update on MIRR.
Sure, thank you. It's just a brief update, no slides, although our consultant team has endless amounts of graphics, as Craig can probably tell you. We just had a round of stakeholder meetings last week. So just a refresher, this project is funded by the Department of Defense Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation. This is an office of the DoD that focuses on the communities around the military installations, not so much working with, on the installation. We're talking about how they relate to the communities. So this project is focusing on reviewing the communities outside the gate, outside the fence, and looking at the resiliency of our communities and how, by being a resilient community, we can keep our installations on mission. So the project began by identifying the most likely threats that would occur in our region. As you can imagine, that had a lot to do with water and flooding events. So the consultant team, the last time I think I met with you may have been back in the summer, and we had done our first round of stakeholder meetings. Since then, they have done some modeling work to look at the threats from different types of flooding events and have modeled for the years 2025 and 2040. And not necessarily looking at a catastrophic scenario, but looking at what was the most likely scenario to happen in 2040 in terms of where flooding could occur. So they were looking at sunny day flooding, such as like our king tides, like we had last week, storm surge events like Matthew, and pluvial flooding or rain events or rain bombs that we had, maybe that was back in September. I think we had quite a bit of flooding due to rain. And then looking at all of that and what those types of threats can, in addition to that, looking at where we would see marsh loss, erosion hotspots, water sewer threats, how all these things can compound with each other. And they produced quite a bit of mapping information from the data that they did from their modeling work. And they've done that, they've identified kind of 3, as we're calling them, pilot locations where we are trying to look at an urban, suburban, and a rural scenario. So it's kind of 3 different scenarios where what would the treatment be for those areas to help mitigate the flooding that could occur there or will occur there by 2040. The locations right now that are sort of in a draft is Shell Point, which is right outside Paris Island. Star Magnolia neighborhood would be representing like a suburban scenario, and that's on Ladies Island, where we found that a lot of military personnel reside. And then we also have a location on St. Helena Island, which is considered a rural, and that one would be focusing more on septic and sewage. So we're still going through these proposed pilot recommendations and reaching out to the different stakeholders. We had a meeting last week. We had 2 different meetings, and then there's been some follow-up meetings to further explore stormwater issues and things like that are going on. So we've been meeting with Katie Ferreira from the county. Just talked to her this morning. And looking at providing a set of recommendations. You should be seeing more on this, more specifics in probably I think your next meeting would be in January. In that time frame, I'm expecting to see a draft in late December. So this project is kind of concluding pretty quickly, but more information to come.
Thank you. Appreciate your update. Questions? This is really a great study that's going to be very beneficial for all of Beaufort County, particularly north of Broad, and the issues that we're dealing with the 2 military installations. Thanks very much, Stephanie.
Sure.
I'm going to go ahead, since Jared still hasn't made it in, and go into new business. Item A under new businesses, Beaufort County Transportation Plan. As you all know, we have to every year provide Scdot an updated transportation plan for our county. And the issues that I see that have changed, and that's why I'm bringing it up for conversation, the 2 items that we need to add or change in it this year would be how we're addressing state secondaries. And the other item would be how we made the approval of a less than $25,000 approval for the chairman, vice chairman, and the treasurer on items that, such as Goethe Road, we're going to be talking about in just a minute, having survey work done. So is there anything else that you all think that has changed in the year? I would encourage you, when you have some free time, to look at the transportation plan and get with us, because by January we have to have it into DOT. So if you see any changes, please let me know. Next item B is Ctc Retreat in February 2022. Last year we had with COVID hitting as hard as it did and changed the world, so to speak, we came across the idea of having a retreat where we would meet basically, and we would invite District 6 down, and we'd invite the program manager down from DOT to help expand everybody's working knowledge of what happens in DOT, as well as to help familiarize everybody with people I'm talking to almost weekly, if not more. So open for comments on that, whether you want to do that in February or whether you don't.
Sure.
I think it would be valuable and informative for all of us.
Consider it done. I'll set it up, and I don't know whether we'll meet here or we'll maybe meet at Beaufort Jasper Water. They have a room there that we might meet at. Would there be anybody objecting to doing this over lunch?
No.
Provide lunch for everybody, and it might be easier to get DOT down and give them travel times both ways and everything, so that was kind of the reason. Consider it done, I'll be working on it for us. Item C is Goethe Road. Let's go back and visit Goethe Road a little bit, and we've been talking about it over the last 2 meetings, and I guess that's about a 4 or 6 month period. Goethe Road is in downtown Bluffton. It is the street right next to the main drag where all the restaurants and everything are. It basically is only like 1,100 feet long. It was given to us by DOT back somewhere in the 50s or late 50s, early 60s for some reason. The rest of Goethe Road is owned by DOT. And basically, I've kind of floated this as a trial balloon with Kim to talk to, and I'll be talking to the mayor in December about it. The idea is that this all started because of paving techniques that were on it. We didn't know the condition of the road. And so I provided you with, after talking to the vice chairman and treasurer, we approved a $9,000 survey to be done on Goethe Road. And with that, we'll be able to come up with paving recommendations and so on, because we have no data on it. We don't even have meets and bounds at this point in time. So what we'd like to do is get the meets and bounds established, go ahead in our paving process for next year. And the idea is once we bring the road up to county standards, we'd like to turn it over and approach Bluffton with the idea we're giving you a road that's yours. It's on your main drag. You ought to be controlling parking and everything else where they have parking spaces rather than the county. It just makes a lot more sense for that to happen. So that's kind of what's going on with Goethe Road. Anybody have questions? Yeah.
The improvement of the road would be before you go to the town of Bluffton and ask them.
We would approve it. It's in our year 5 paving program already. So it's already been established as a road we're going to touch. So the idea was, rather than keeping it after we've finished it and brought it up to grade, why not give it to them and get it out of our inventory?
Have you had any indication, or have you floated any balloons about whether they are interested in taking that road?
I have.
And?
No response yet, but that's why I said I'm going to talk to the mayor in 2 weeks. I don't think there's going to be any objections.
Would you consider talking, while you're talking to the town about this road, of any other county roads that are in Bluffton?
Actually, thank you for the segue, because I was going to mention that to the 2 communities that are here. I was going to mention it to all 4 communities. If they have any roads that they would like, is a good example on Hilton Head. Our road is owned by 3 different entities. It's owned by DOT. We own a small section, and the town of Hilton Head owns a small section. We should give up our section of our road and turn it over to them. We've just resurfaced it a year or so ago, so that's another road that we would look at. And yes, if there's roads that we currently own, we would very strongly consider. What's even more important for everybody to take back and understand very clearly, the Attorney General 3 years ago did findings on who is responsible for maintaining county roads inside municipalities. And it turns out that municipalities are supposed to take care of county roads. And this has been before county council, discussed with county council, and it's been on their back burner for some time. But that is an issue that inside municipalities are supposed to be taking care of our roads. Yes, sir.
at the retreat, it might not be a bad idea to discuss county roads within municipalities. In the question of a policy that says for us to work on the county roads and improve them to whosever specs you want, that when that's finished, you will take over the road.
Absolutely, we'll discuss it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions on Goethe Road? Brittany, you're up on Treasurer's Report.
Thank you. So in your packet, you have the closeout of fiscal year 2021, just to kind of summarize where we stand financially in last year. We received revenue about $2.55 million. We spent $2.43 million, leaving us with a fund balance from a rollover from the previous year of about 1.8. This year, we are forecasted our apportionment for the actual gas tax itself to be a total of $2.55 million. With the donor bonus of $251,000 and the one-time apportionment of the non-recurring funds, we are looking at a total revenue of $3.963 million. Keep in mind, 25% of that combined apportionment must be spent on the Scdot system. So that is approximately $990,000. And then we need to take into consideration that we need a biannual average. So last year was the 27.3, this year is the 25%. So the combined is going to be 26.15. I've spoken with Scdot, and though this year we were supposed to expend 33.33% because of the one-time funds, they've brought that down to the 25 mark. So they will move to the 33.33 in next fiscal cycle unless something else like this happens.
As you will recall, throughout this past fiscal year, Brittany and I have talked about it, the fact that we were living month to month, so to speak, on worrying whether we were going to have enough funds to be able to meet our commitments for the year. And what basically has happened is that the amount of gas tax being funded into the C fund increased as more cars were on the road, so it exceeded their forecast. And so we were looking at the forecast was inaccurate, so we wound up with more money. What's relevant for everybody to understand, if we take, yes, we're going to get 3.9 million this year roughly. We're going to spend 900,000 on state secondaries, and we're going to spend between $1.5 million to $2 million on our road programs. So that means that we're going to have roughly $1 million left in the coffers to go along with our 1.8. The state law, the state statute states very clearly, we have to spend our full allocation, but we're allowed to take that dollar amount up to 300% of what our annual income is. So that's roughly 7 million we could have setting on if we wanted to, 7.5 million to be exact. So that is the way the state statute works. Elizabeth, would you open up, see if that wasn't Jared at the door? Thank you. Thank you. Perfect timing.
There you go.
Just got done with the treasurer's report. You're up, my man. We're going to talk about 170.
All right, 170. Thank you, Chairman Gordon. Good to see everybody today. 170 is one of our, you know what, it's actually, I'm going to go ahead and put myself out there. It's probably my favorite project I'm working on right now because everybody's for it. And I don't get those projects very often, so it's a big project. It's a project everybody can see the need. I just drove through it and it needs it yesterday. And so it's a good project and I'm excited about it. So where we are, we put out we got the contractor or a consultant on board to do the short-term projects. Again, we scoped it out. It's about $3 million. County Council has $1.5 million. The Jasper County is working on $1 million, and then we're going to coordinate further with Town of Hardyville and hopefully get them on board as well. So they've started. They are working through the survey work right now. They are intending to be complete hopefully this week, maybe next week, and then they'll process that and then start the design starting in December. Hopefully by the end of January, they'll have some preliminary designs that we can start getting out to DOT for some reviews, as well as any other agencies that are required for permits. We're also looking to see if there's portions that we can kind of put out further. There's a couple signal updates, specifically at Tide Watch there at Riverbend and Sun City. The improvement there is just a left turn signal, protect the signal both ways. So, hey, there's not a lot of there's no geometry in that, just the actual signals. Can we get that ahead of time? We're going to look at that. We're coordinating with DOT on some their planned resurfacing that they have and seeing if there's ways for us to work together. We just presented on this at Public Facilities on Monday. The consultant came and talked to our committee, and they were asked if there's any things that they can do not just beyond the short term, but we also have intermediate and long term. So is there any things we can look at to add to the project to continue to increase the availability and access in the corridor, even while we're scoping out the long-term project? So we're looking at those. There's a couple small things we've already looked at. So even though you guys were part of helping facilitate the signal at 462 and it's up and functioning, which is much improved, there's already been noticed that the queuing is longer than the turn lane. So we get queuing traffic into the fast lane. So even though that was already performed, we're going to add hopefully to that turn lane to add some more queuing capacity. We're also looking at what I couldn't believe it when the engineer said it, but 4 out of every 10 crashes happen at North Okatee Boulevard, right there in that area as you're kind of on board onto 278 eastbound. So we're looking to see if we can extend. Right now, the existing short-term projects call for improvements up through the signal and off-ramp at 278 westbound, but see if we can move that further up to North Okatee Boulevard and see if we can do some improvements there, even in the short term while we scope out the larger project. So we're looking at that as well. So a lot of things positive going on. Again, we're going to be reaching out to the Town of Hardyville. That was brought up in Public Facilities Committee as well on Monday. So I know I spoke a lot of real fast and drank a lot of Red Bull on the way here. So if you got any questions, I'll be glad to answer whatever you have.
What's the scope of work? Is it adding new lanes each direction, or?
Well, not in the short term. Long term, yes. Long term calls for 6 lanes throughout the corridor from 278 to 462. Short term.
You looked at your packet last time, all the work they're doing is in it that's being designed. The packet pretty well describes everything from last month, or last meeting.
Yeah, basically, there's 5 target areas in the short term, 4 or 5. At South Okatee Boulevard, which is the food line at that entrance, all the way up to the 278 westbound signal there at 170, just north of the interchange. So that's 1 and 2 projects. Tide Watch signal is a 3rd project. Argent Boulevard, adding 2 left lanes turning north on 170 is a project. And
That's about it. Oh, we didn't do anything at Oldfield.
nothing at Oldfield in the current short term. But then we're going to add on, like I said, we've already kind of did a change order with the contractor or consultant to do the extra survey and design for the queuing at 462 and possibly at North Okatee Boulevard. So,
Jared, I'm going to throw a curve at you. And we've talked about the Argent Boulevard 170 and then the 278 triangle. And I had approached Jasper County in particular about helping fund a study to do the 278 portion, and they asked to take it out to Margaritaville. Has that been approached yet?
not completely. We're getting an initial scope and cost proposal on the first section from 170 on 278 from 170 to Argent Boulevard. And then I've coordinated with Andy Fulgram at Jasper County. He didn't make mention of that the other day when I talked to him. I'm sure he will next time I talk to him. So if so, we'll take a look and see if we can add to, if it makes sense to throw it in the scope out for now. But we are talking with a consultant to try to get that third leg of the Triangle project, a study done similar to 170 and Argent Boulevard.
Further questions? Thanks much.
You're welcome.
Nobody's entered the room, so I don't think there's anybody going to have public comment to our agenda items. And my comment is going to be, I very much appreciate you all showing up at 3:30 today. We got overbooked. Somebody decided that they had to be here at 5 o'clock, and we got pushed out. And so we took the blunt for them and started at 3:30 to make certain we'd be out of here in sufficient time. So I thank everybody for their presentations. Is there any additional questions? Seeing, yes, Stu.
If I can just make one comment, relative to Jared's comments on 170. It's been a real pleasure to see how that thing has been unfolding, and delighted to see that you're starting to look into the medium-term opportunities to start to fold some of those in. And I think the biggest opportunity is it's really a great opportunity for Beaufort County, Hardingville, and Jasper, DOT to all come together and see how we make this sooner and better for what may be the most difficult section of road in the county. I remember reading that I think there were like 5 fatalities in 3.5 years or something like that. So it needs some work, and glad to see everybody's working hard on it. Thank you for your leadership and guidance on that.
You're most welcome. Thank you. Okay, anybody have anything good for the cause? Seeing none, meeting adjourned.